My name is Viroshan Pillai. I'm the host of the Conscious Wellbeing podcast. Welcome to the show. Today we have Janine Hills. Um, Janine Hills is the founder and CEO of Janine Hills Authentic Leadership and one of Africa's foremost authorities on authentic leadership, crisis management, and reputational management. Over more than 35 years, she has built a distinguished career spanning corporate South Africa, government and entrepreneurship, today advising the boards and executive teams of more than 15 JSE listed companies across 15 African countries. A serial entrepreneur who founded Janine Hills Authentic Leadership, she has served on boards including Brand South Africa, the International Women's Forum South Africa, UNICEF's Influential Women's Circle, Kaiser Chiefs, and Ster-Kinekor. And in 2025, sat on the G20 Ethics and Governance Committee. She's also, or has been, a lecturer at Duke Corporate Education, Henley, Gibbs, and Wits Business School, and a passionate champion of gender and pay parity. Her philosophy rests on 5 strategic values: integrity, consistency, transparency, honesty, and reliability. It is a privilege to have her here to talk about what authentic leadership is and reputational management is. Thank you so much for coming through, Janine. Can you tell me what is reputation? Why is it so significant in today's world if you're a leader? What are you looking for in terms of being a grounded person, authentic person, and expressing that reputation as well in terms of today?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you. What a lovely setting, and I really appreciate. And wonderful to meet you. Finally, we've been
Finally.
communicating on email and messaging, and thank you very much. So it's a journey. It's all of us come into the world. You might go to university, or you might start a job, or start a company, but nobody tells you these things. And the one is about building up your personal reputation, like, for example, yourself for your show. You've got to have consistency. People need to trust you. So it's about trust.
Mhm.
And if I like you, I trust you, I will do business with you. And that's what reputation management is. So it's what the other people have a perception of you. So in our world, yes, it works with big corporates. It works with, the country, South Africa. It works with internationals. But the key thing is, if you think about it, just logically, you couldn't put a CEO with a bad track record and a reputation if you'd stolen money, robbed a bank, put him as a CEO of a bank.
Yes,
It's the
absolutely.
same premise. So we do need to, given the turbulent time we all find ourselves in, not only in South Africa, in Africa, if we don't nurture the value of our personal reputation. When you sit on boards, that company can be defunct, it could be delisted, it could go through a turbulent time. We need people of stature and people with a good reputation, solid, sound reputation, so that people go, okay, look, they're obviously going through a turbulent time right now, but look at the board. That board is filled with quality individuals that can lead them through this turbulent time.
Okay. Does a company hire individuals like that? Is it the past experience to say, okay, this is the reputation that they've had, the brand that they exude, and if they had any crisis before, how does companies today look at that when they are hiring? You've been in executive leadership in JSE listed companies. What is the process that people go through and a company goes through in terms of hiring?
So you need a board that has got the right skill set for that specific sector. Let's put it this, let's say mining. Let's choose mining as an example. You obviously need a leader, the chair, to have either be a legal person or an engineer or have vast experience in mining. I see there was a change today of Neil Froneman, for example, who was the founder CEO of Sibanye, Stillwater, and he's gone and sat as the chair on Copper 360. Now, why would he do that? Now, that's a junior miner. Why? Because he will help leverage that company, because of his excellent track record. He will leverage it because he has experience. He understands how boards work. He understands the governance, ethics throughout the organization. And I would assume someone like, Neil Froneman has done a director's course. So that's where we're leading. So yes, your board needs to be made up of individuals that are skilled for that sector, they can actually guide and strategically advise the exco.
Okay.
What we are making a mistake with, we're starting to see that, and it's not only locally and internationally, is we don't have enough females on these boards. So that is one of the big issues. We also, when it looks at governance, a lot of the boards don't, the individuals have not gone through a traditional director's course. So those are the two risks we're starting to see. And also, often I come across a board, for example, that's made up of people they know or like, or so they can work together.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge comes in that becomes a risk because you might not have the right makeup of that specific board.
Okay. With boards like this here, and you'll notice that maybe somebody's not standing up for the actual purpose of the organization and more for waiving integrity or going according to what the board wants. How does it get handled in situations like that there, where it's not about the organizational mission and vision, it's more about which clique I am in terms of the boardroom, and should I go with this type of route and save my position, or what is going to happen to my salary, that type of things. And I think people have those cruxes that they don't know how to handle because where's the experience? What's going to happen to me if I don't follow this type of leadership?
You're so right. I mean, it is about having a strong chair, strong deputy chair that knows and understands governance and understands strategy. I do come across these boards. They don't necessarily have to be listed companies. They can be non-listed companies with very good boards. And then they don't understand the strategy of the business, and then they leave it to the CEO. So that's kind of the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I see this chairman, for example, being inexperienced. And that's where the CEO can make recommendations. Please go and do the director's course, organize it, because otherwise it becomes a risk from an audit point of view. Either there's a company called Fluid Rock that does it, or IOD, the Institute of Directors. And so it's so important to have that skill. I have seen it. And I mean, it's tricky because people, they've got their self-interest. Now, that's not the right chair. That's not the right board
leadership.
No.
If you look at it, if you have self-interest, there's no leadership
there.
No.
So you have to lead by example. And I think we need to move to that. But we're also a young democracy. So yes, we are a youngish company as a country. We need to now move. We are 32 years old now.
I know.
Can we grow up a little bit now? Okay. So yes, we need to put in some more systems, some more training, some more develop. I do find South Africans, we've been through so much that we're a little bit gung-ho.
Yeah.
We don't need media training. We don't need spokespeople training. We don't need the director's course. I've been on how many director's course? Sat on how many boards? I don't need it. The world is changing, and we have to adapt to that. And that means there might be a new law that's come in that you're not familiar with. So why would you not want to have regular updates?
Yeah.
So it's self-development where we stuck a little bit on, well, I've been doing this for a while, so I don't want to learn. And I think that's a massive risk for any organization or for a person from a leadership point of view. Why would you not want to be open to learning and adapting to some new ideas that are moving in? So that's a shortfall.
I noticed that over the last few years, like UCT and different universities incorporating self-awareness, self-mastery into their programs.
Yes.
Because they want to teach an individual how to handle situations, how to handle emotions, how to handle mindsets.
Yeah.
Because it's not only an individual that you're handling how they're thinking, you're handling how they're feeling, and that is not taught in the current education systems. And the larger universities or the more established universities like Harvard and Stanford and Gibbs and all of these institutions are starting to incorporate that well-being is so significant as well for leadership. And that's been changing. How important is self-awareness, self-mastery in terms of being conscious over what you are doing and how you are managing people today? Because it's not just about the functional intelligence and the strategy and how you get to a profit and how you get 10x your company.
Yeah.
It's more about building people as well along the way.
It's crucial. If you are blinkered and you can't have the open consciousness of understanding. I almost like liken it to thinking like an octopus, where you can visualize the head and you've got to have these tentacles out thinking laterally. If you're unable to do that as a leader, you're not going to see cybercrime coming your way. You're not going to see the growth of AI and the impact. You're not going to see, sure, have we actually handled that crisis? Have we put our scenario planning together? In this instance, have we got the right people in the right positions on the board, in the exco, and in the middle management? So it's about looking deeper. And I do find that, yes, we are a new nation, and yes, Africa's going through a huge change. That's where we are falling short, is we have to think laterally. And it is a challenge, because if you look at your boards and you look at your leaders, and that a lot of people are chartered accountants, a lot of them are engineers.
MBA.
Thank you. And there's a gap. There's a people gap. There's the consciousness gap, which you just mentioned, and that we need to bring through. And so that comes through in a lot of my reputation management work. I work with incredibly smart people. I remember when I did the launch of eBucks, and I was a fifth employee, part of with Michael Godon, as you mentioned earlier. And when we founded eBucks, and it was part of the First Rand Group, it was the full e-commerce initiative for the entire group. And we had to understand our customer. We had to understand the market. We were innovative, but you have to think out the box. Otherwise, if you don't think out the box, it's just going to be same. Yeah. So it's how do we bring the innovation through looking at things laterally so that you can capitalize on it.
Okay. It's the creativity that comes with it, because I think we lack that there in our education systems, is that you're so linear. You're going to study, you're going to university, this is what I'm going to choose, but there's no adaptability and flexibility that comes there, and that's part of creativity. And we're not taught that. Is that how you can rewire yourself to see holistically what's happening in an organization?
Spot on.
I was lucky in terms of my own growth, that I worked, and then I was in the factory, and then I got to be in procurement, and then sales, and then executive management. So it gave me this holistic framework of company management, executiveship, and what skills are actually different that you have to create within or have within yourself. But most people are not like that. They don't have that flexibility and adaptability, and it's continuous learning as well, and unlearning.
Well, I love what you've just said, because your background's actually very similar to my background. I mean, I was saying to a chairman, in fact, yesterday, he said, just give me an understanding of your background, just like yours. And I mean, we weren't a wealthy family at all. In fact, an extremely poor background, and unfortunately exposed to horrific GBV at home. Personally, what my mom experienced was absolutely diabolical. No human and no family should experience that in any lifetime. But that strengthened me. So in this process, I remember my father tried to go on holidays, and with a caravan, and that's what we understood. But we had to pay for that. And he used to catch the fish. He used to do the skin diving, and I was the one at the back of the boat selling the fish.
Okay.
So I learned sales at a very early age. Okay.
The sales is phenomenally important in business.
Well, exactly. When you own your own business and run your own business, if you don't do your sales, you've got a problem in your hands. So yes, at a very young age, I learned sales, how to talk to people at different levels. So these are skills that come home. So a lot of what I do is what I, believe it or not, I hated as a kid. We never had, we worked weekends. I had to help in the garage, do paving, build a wall. I built my first boat at the age of 16. I mean, I was a girl. But I was supposed to be a boy, clearly. But I wasn't. I loved being a woman. So it's great. And I think that's a tough side of an upbringing that comes to fruition when you ultimately grow older. And I think you bring it into your business world. So at the age of 35, I met a spiritual teacher, and that was the big defining point in my life. Wow. And I'd been through 2 hijackings. I'd been kidnapped in India. And so the journey was a long journey for me of overcoming fear, anxiety through those moments. And sitting in an ashram, at the back of the ashram, in my black suits, typical. So I went there in my black suits. Everybody else wore the white, and I sat there stubbornly and wore my black suit. But I realized I was listening. I said nothing. I just kept quiet. I just listened. And I think those are the informative years that come in and calculate into, we as leaders need to listen. Listen to the people of the nation. Listen to the people on the ground. Feel what they're feeling. Experience what they are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Not make highfalutin decisions up here in a boardroom without understanding the people on the ground and how it's going to affect it. You and I have been those people on the ground. You know, we weren't born with a
Yes.
silver spoon in our mouth. So we've had to claw our way up
Yeah.
into a respected environment. So yes, I think we need
It's
to
that
learn
tenacity and that it's
resilience
ambition
and
and
resilience.
resilience as well.
Yeah.
But you also have the challenges along the way that you get.
Yeah.
You was bringing up that you were in ashram. So I know that
Mm.
when you wear black, it actually is more receptive. It's one of the most receptive colors in yogic sciences.
Correct.
That you can imbibe good energy and bad
Yes.
energy when you
Yes.
wear black. But the fact that you listen
it
made a huge difference.
They didn't appreciate it, let me tell you. They were not happy people at all with me sitting, but they allowed it.
People think black and they connotate it to maybe evil or that you're not white and it's not goodness.
But it was my defiance.
Yes.
I was learning, you know.
Yes.
And I think that's what we got to recognize. People will be defiant.
Yes.
And I accept that. But that's where, so when I work with boards and I work with executives, is I accept that this is a journey.
Yes.
You know, a wonderful woman's just come to me now and I'm looking forward to working with her. And she said, Janine, I'm an engineer. I now need to talk and do podcasts and do radio interviews and advise, and I've never done this. And she's in a position that you really need to do that. Yes. So this took me back to, 28 years, and I listened to her and I went, okay, good. The schooling that I had 28 years ago, I can bring to this party with her. So that's what you realize. You've been through situations like you have, and you now go, okay, this makes me happy. This is what I do, and I'm comfortable doing it. Now I need to impart those skills.
Yes. Because you learned all of this knowledge, and what's the use of holding all the knowledge in? And that's what I've realized is that even though I've accumulated the experience and the knowledge, and if I don't pass it on, what's the purpose then? There's no purpose because I've realized certain things, but whatever you're going through, there's a solution to it. Absolutely. And if it took me 10, 20 years, you can get it done within a year or 2 years.
Absolutely.
But we're not yet there consciously.
Yeah.
When did that light bulb moment happen for you where, you said at 35 you went to the ashram, but your transition over understanding consciousness or becoming elevated and saying, you know what, I don't want to experience this. I've gone through all of these challenges, my pain as well. What made you reflect and say, you know what, I need to change and I need to look at something differently that can help me grow?
It's a beautiful question. Thank you. So at 25, I made a decision. I drew the line in my sand with my family and said, everything that my father is, I'm not and will never be.
That is a huge realization to come to.
Yeah. But he was my greatest teacher because everything that he was, I'm not. Do you see?
Yeah.
And that's it. And if I do fall into a trap and start becoming, then I need to learn to undo that very quickly because it gets passed down in genes.
Yes,
so it's that violence that I experienced. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be in environments like that. And that I drew the line. And then it was very interesting. Obviously at 35, I'd been through a terrible breakup. So I think what happens is there's always a reason why we do these things. Went through and then I found the ashram. And it was magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And I followed the teachings and the mantras continuously. In fact, I don't know how people in this disruptive world that we live in don't have a faith or something to work with to strengthen them. I don't know how they manage each and every day, given the turbulence. And then when I got to 40, it was very interesting. I'd been through a hijacking, and I read the book, The Camino.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the middle of launching eBooks.
Yes.
And I walked in, read the book over the weekend, went into the office on the Monday morning, put the book on Michael Jordan's desk and said, Michael, I need 35 days leave. And he just started laughing at me.
It's like you just started.
Just started. We're in the middle of a launch, Janine. I went, yes. If I don't do this, I have to leave the country.
Wow.
I'm at that stage where I have to deal with this. And I know that 35 days I will do it. So I'll walk 32, 3 days in Madrid, and I'm back home. And guess what? He took the book, he read it over the weekend, and he said, done. I get it.
Wow.
And it was a privilege. So that's a leader that he heard. He heard that pain.
Very few leaders are like that.
Correct.
They're actually willing to listen.
Exactly.
And yeah.
And so I take my hat off to someone like that, trusting me. And I said to him, don't worry, all the plans are in place. In fact, it will be a huge success. Don't worry about it. And it was a huge success. It was interesting because when we launched, IT let us down. You got to just laugh at it, okay? We're supposed to have a live, big screens, live website. Guess what? They were 4 days late. We had to improvise and do screenshots. And I to this day, I always go, those were lessons. But that was another very big defining point in my life because at the age of 40, I needed to feel I was never physically strong.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, quite physically weak. I didn't have a strong, some people are just strong, and I just didn't have it. But the Camino taught me that. And some people said, Janine, are you crazy? I mean, it's 850-kilometer hike in 32 days.
Yes.
I mean, are you crazy? And I completed it.
Wow.
And it was the most magnificent finding myself. I found I had a tire of confidence that all of a sudden came in. And the awareness started for me there. We're listening to others, understanding the journey, but also being very disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to, because I remember I hadn't been taught at the university level at that stage the discipline.
Yes.
And that came in, and that hike, that walk taught me that. Also working in banking taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you join companies like Vodacom, and I was the 17th employee, I mean it's entrepreneur, and you just allow it to flow.
Yes.
And you thinking out of the box, you're making things, and you're selling up a storm, and this changes.
Don't you see you've been lucky actually to be in those situations? Like to just be at the start of when these companies actually, nobody knew about them. Nobody knew about eBucks. Nobody knew about Vodacom.
Yeah.
And then you look at it where it is today.
Correct.
Is that success, or what is success for you then when you really look at it?
So I just want to finish what you were speaking about, the defining moments, because that's quite important. And then we're going to come back, because yes, I would never say it's luck. I would say it's something that you're guided to do. And ultimately, there's a reason why, because it's never easy. It was not easy, and I'll tell you about a couple of the great times, the pitfalls and whatever. But I think the other defining time was when I was running my own company, and I'd run a reputation management company for 18 years. And it was a privilege, and working with a team of people, growing them as individuals, teaching them to become entrepreneurs, because that's what I didn't want just employees. I wanted people that worked with me,
Yes.
and that no matter what happens to the company, they can go off and become better and understand a balance sheet. Those were the very important lessons that we had in the company. But I realized I got to a stage where I needed more. And you and I spoke about it when I arrived. And I needed to have a balance for myself. And often when you run companies or yourself, you don't have that balance. And that's when you start feeling unhappy, you're frustrated. And that was
a question, like, what's purpose?
Why?
What am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Is it bringing me any value in life? Like the holistic part about life. It's not just about, yes, you're good at your career,
yes,
and you can manage things and manage people and grow business, but there's this something that's missing inside of you that you don't know how to explain to anybody.
Spot on. Absolutely.
That was the reality.
Yes.
As younger, I'd keep on telling people I'm going to go on a sabbatical. And I didn't even know what a sabbatical was properly.
It was my sabbatical for 30. Come on, you got to do it. You got to make time.
Actually, you're talking about it. I went to the ashram, the Isha Center in Coimbatore, in Tamil Nadu.
Right.
And one of the activities that you can sign up for, is that you can go up the Velingri Hills.
Oh, wow.
And I did it. I just decided to, that day, within, I think, 24 hours, I heard about it. And then they told, no, you can even walk barefoot up.
Sure.
So I said, okay, I'm doing it. And at 8 o'clock at night, we left.
Yeah.
And I went up, and I can tell you it was challenging because I walked barefoot.
Yeah.
You're walking at night. You don't even have like a torch. You're just following other people up to this route, and you're climbing the staircase. At least, it's the rock formations, and then it had an elevated where you can climb. And at one moment, I just sat and I stopped and I said, I need to go back down. I can't do this. And I just sat there on the rock, and I sat down, relaxed a bit, and drank. I think I was so dehydrated because I never, it's like if you never jumped and you never did anything that's strenuous,
Water
how are
is,
you going to walk up a
Yes.
mountain or a hill? And I think I
Hydration is
did
crucial,
that,
eh?
and I just like
Yeah.
you mentally, emotionally, physically fatigued.
Yeah.
And I just sat there, and I think after 20, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
I just woke up and I started walking, and
Wow.
I just carried
Wow.
on, and I got to the top at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I walked down, and it was such, and I was walking down, it's just like, you reach the top, and it's like, that's like such a win. And it wasn't like many people are with me and that I knew. I was in a foreign country, never
Yeah.
did this before, didn't even know what's going to happen on the top. You're not even scared that you may fall, you may get
Correct.
hurt, nothing. You just continue. I think that's that faith
Yes.
and that resilience and that spirituality that's
Yes.
going to get taught to you
And being
in those
open.
in that
I can hear that from you. You were open to the experience.
Yes.
That no matter what happened, you'd be open, which is
Yes.
crucial.
Because you're becoming so vulnerable to not knowing, to
Yeah.
not having a goal that you have to set in terms of, whether I go. And while I was walking down at like 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and I see a 10-year-old girl is coming down, and in the community,
How incredible.
the younger generation can walk up and come down in 3 hours.
Easy. Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I was saying, no, what are you doing? You don't even know.
Yeah.
And it made me reflect so much that you actually don't know about life
Correct.
in so many ways and levels
Correct.
that our knowledge is so limited.
Correct.
And it's lovely that people get to have these experiences, and that Kumina was your experience that you had to
Was
change.
one of them. Yeah, it's one of them, but those are defining moments. And we
Yes.
need those because they're almost like shocks to the body.
Yeah.
And when one has a shock in a body, believe it or not, like a hijacking or kidnapping or whatever, it shifts you to that next level of consciousness. And I'm seeing that the fact that I went through two, kidnappings and a kidnapping and two hijackings. I've just been able to help my domestic worker right now, who is like my baby sister. She was kidnapped three months ago, and I was able to help her through that trauma of what she needs to do, and breathing exercise, meditation, her prayers. That's her faith, is to pray and to work with the rosary. And she now carries a rosary on her. She walks with it. Her rosary saved her life because when she was in the car, in the vehicle with them, she had the rosary, and they said, hierdie een, say bet. I mean, I don't really speak. So they were frustrated that she kept praying.
Yes.
That saved her life. So I was able to help her through. And today, I mean, she came to visit me early this morning, and I can see the healing. I can see the strength. There will be always triggers that one has to watch out for. Same with me. There will be triggers, but it's how we manage ourselves and work through that. So yeah, we come to our knees at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we rise.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to get to your knees. It makes
Too
you
often, okay? Not too
but
often.
It makes you humble. When I had depression and going broke
Sure,
as
you
well.
said so, yeah.
I think that it makes you really know what the bottom is, and most people don't know what the bottom is.
Yeah.
And if you really experience it, and then you say you have this resilience, and you're willing to be open, be vulnerable to growth, to flexibility, to listening to other people, not just thinking that you know everything. And we listen to reply, we don't listen to understand.
Doesn't that just drive you? If you want to know, one of my pet peeves is that, just so that you know. And somebody answering me before I've finished my sentence. It's like, you
I actually noticed it in you because
Did you notice it when
because when you phoned it, you lost,
Yeah.
and then I interrupted you and I
Yeah,
said, "I'm going to send you the link."
finish my sentence.
And I could hear, because I'm a coach, so
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
her voice and her tone changed. Let me just listen and let her finish.
That would be
Because
nice.
that would be what she wants. She actually, I realized that you want to finish what you started telling me. And that's when I kept quiet. And
Well done, well managed.
but because I realized that, and I understood your reflection or your response in that there. I said, "Oh, okay, I'm stepping over something that she's not ready." And even if I just told you here's the answer, it wasn't gonna make you happy. It was like you already got peeved off.
But you know what you've just touched on now is such an important topic, because this is what happens to women in boardrooms and in exco positions. So they're generally dominated by males. I mean, I think it's we have 5% of women leading JSE companies, to put things into perspective. It's improved, but generally you walk into a male-dominated environment. It generally is.
I'm lucky. My mentor was a female,
a
woman.
I'm so pleased. Well, that's why you're so nice.
But you get to. It's a different leadership style.
Yes.
Entirely different.
Correct. And you know what I'm finding? That what happens, so this is what happens to us women. You see, you guys don't experience this. So I'll say something like, Varish, the leaves are green on this plant, and really that's a nice pot plant. Could we look at multiplying this, say, like in retail or whatever? 2 minutes later, a male like yourself will turn around and say, we've seen in our research, yes, this pot plant has got green leaves. We like the style so we get completely ignored in some instances. And often what happens is then you get
become very masculine.
Thank you. And the bulliness comes out because
I've realized
you don't get heard. And so, I mean, it's happening. I mean, I'm in a client at the moment and I'm working with a particular gentleman, and he will try in meetings explain what I have just said. Sorry? So this is
listening to reply.
So I think it's a skill that we as leaders and people in any position, and it doesn't matter in your church, in your school, in your business, at home. If you come home from a busy day and you don't listen to your wife, that's not nice.
Absolutely. No, I get you.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you want a bit of nookie later. No, darling. No. You just...
I get you 100% there is because it's you want to touch on emotional tones and feeling tone, and when you're still in this mental thinking reality. So you come, it's just like, oh no, I just want, is the food cooked? Is this happening? What do I need to do? And then you realize there's no emotion around that. And then I got to learn that from being married. And I think that if somebody's willing to listen to you, your partner is willing to listen, and that was the greatest thing. I thought important. Even in marriage, there's leadership there, and it comes from both people.
Correct.
Otherwise, there's no authenticity. I think there's a lot of ego that I want to criticize to be right. I don't want to criticize to understand.
Yes.
And that's where I had to really understand that there as well. Yes, there's criticism in a relationship, but there's unhealthy criticism and then there's healthy criticism.
Correct.
And with healthy criticism, it's for somebody to teach you to understand them. And in unhealthy criticism, I want to be right and you better listen to me. And I think that happens in boardrooms, it happens in bedrooms, it happens there, and you don't really understand that. And I think that's what's happening. It's consciousness. It's becoming conscious of what's happening in your relationship. And where you want to go in life as well. And I didn't understand consciousness. It's because as I was explaining earlier, is you think you're conscious and you wake up and you're conscious. No, that's not conscious, because you're not really looking at the world through perspective and through perception.
Different lenses.
Correct. And listening to somebody. And I think we need more of that to actually listen.
We do need, there's just a very simple example. I remember with BMW, for example, there was an old Madala, in our businesses on the factory lines. You had this old Madala, and he kept saying to his management team, there's an extra plastic sheeting in the back of the boot. And why do we need 2 plastic sheetings at the back of a boot? And everyone ignored him. People on the shop floor ignored him. He just wasn't heard. And the one day, the German international CEO came out and they did a walk around on the factory floor. And this old Madalla stepped forward and he was showing the CEO, but Makulu, why do you have 2 plastic sheeting? Do you know that he saved the organization $100 million?
Wow. Just by asking the question.
Asking the question, number one, and number two, someone listening to him because he'd been ignored. So those are the perfect business examples. The other thing is I take the consciousness side, and it's very important for us to learn and grow and open our consciousness, because then you will feel how the other people feel. And then we might say, well, we haven't got time for that. Well, if you haven't got time for your employees and you haven't got time to invest in your stakeholders, they won't be there when you need them.
Absolutely.
It's you know.
It's that emotional intelligence that you're looking at. It's also
Thank
situational awareness.
Correct.
Is that you're able to read the room.
you.
And I don't think
Correct.
executives and leaders know how to read a room.
Well, they're not encouraged to invest in that realm.
Yeah.
And I think with AI coming in now, we're going to need to. Because the robot will do what the robot's going to do, all right?
Yes.
But it's not going to be able to have these sensitive, meaningful conversations.
This will get lost.
Correct. It doesn't have the ability, the realm of interconnecting from one human to the other. It will give us answers. It'll be very intelligent. But at the end of the day, we need more. And that feeling, it will never be able to replicate. So that's why the humanizing of the business skills is absolutely going to become an imperative.
Soft skills. Vulnerability.
I don't like that word.
You don't like it?
No. I
Why?
tell you why. And it's actually just been changed recently as well. It's moving in that direction where they're realizing that it's human skills that are becoming critical. Because if we don't have the human skills in that environment, word soft skills gets downplayed in the working environment.
Weakness. You connote it to weakness?
It's also not it's not imperative in business. It's we have budget when we feel like we've got budget or whatever. So that's why my work in that over the years has been soft skills. I've never in my life referred to the work I do as soft skills. Mm-hmm. But if we don't add that humanized element into the business. Let's say, for example, if one is going through a tough business decision and one has to, unfortunately, go through a Section 189 where you're going to engage and you're going to go through a retrenchment process. If you don't do things in a humane, meaningful way, where will that leave you as a leader? And a lot of people out-franchise that to like HR or whatever. But have you as a leader sat down with HR and said, please make sure that whatever we do must be with dignity, with respect?
I love that. That you know what, you actually realize that I need to think like that and I need to feel what's happening in the organization, because you can become very cold because profit is more, and then I want to save the company. But it's not really about that. Is that these people are also being let go. Do you have the emotional intelligence to understand that? You know, there's families behind that, there's kids, there's a whole realm of you not even looking at. And that's that reality, is that you're thinking of saving and looking after what's going to be there.
Sure.
But there's actually people that are going to be suffering in that.
There might be other work streams for them.
Yes.
You could create other opportunities or help get these CVs written. You know, make sure that there's counseling. Bring in recruitment.
Speak to a competitor. Look at somebody that can help. Like, you know what? Okay, this division's not doing well. Is there somebody that actually maybe in the industry that can take over? And you don't even think about it.
Love what you say.
Because you got blinkers on.
Correct.
That, no, this is happening. I'm suffering here. I just need to save it. But you don't even have a realm of understanding that, there's an opportunity.
Correct.
Let me look at it as an opportunity.
Correct.
Maybe there's a different solution.
Correct.
Let me bring somebody else with a different mindset.
Love what you're saying.
Can do something.
And it goes back to even, as an employee, how customer-centric am I? That's your consciousness.
Yes.
Do I care about the customer that I'm actually working with? It doesn't matter if I'm selling a bottle of milk, a bottle of water, a pot plant. It doesn't matter what I'm selling, the studio like this. It's the customer service that comes with it. Do I care about my customer? Do I look at it short term? Do I look at it long term? And that I learned that when I was in the hospitality industry for 10 years. And when you're in the hospitality industry straight out of school, and the Holiday Inn was my first job, I learned servant leadership. And to this day, I walk into a boardroom, I walk into a room, I'll make sure that people got tea and coffee. It becomes ingrained into you as a leader and as a person.
I think everybody should actually go into hospitality first. My wife is there. She's a chef,
Yes.
and she
Wow.
worked at Protea, and she worked in the hotel industry.
Yes.
And you have this, just making sure somebody that you meet new has a cup of coffee,
Thank you.
is there, like
Correct.
giving them that presence.
Yes.
Just to give them presence.
Correct.
And that was I learned that from her, and I actually,
I'm proud of you.
No, and I learned so many things
Yeah.
also from being married. Is like people just don't even say thank you for small little things. And in our household, if anybody makes food or does
Yes.
something, there's
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Correct.
And that's small little things. It's not even small. You shouldn't even regard it as small, because just doing that every day makes such a huge difference in your life, because you can feel appreciated and you can experience gratitude.
So I love where you're going, because it is about, if you respect yourself, you respect me. And you clearly respect yourself to respect your wife.
Yeah.
And that's one of the important lessons that leaders need to work with, is use the word please, use the word thank you. But the key thing is also understand the journey that that person is going through.
Not everybody's gone through it. Not everybody is elevated consciously to understand that.
Correct.
And you find that today. And that's why, I've got to be present enough to understand who you are. If we've never met before, let me listen. Let me understand. This is the way Janine is.
Yeah.
And I don't think people give that enough thought or foresight or insight as well when they're meeting people. You don't know where somebody's come from, what their background is. Yes, they may have a title and a role, but that can be insignificant to their journey to where they are today.
Time's against us. Time is against, you look at CEOs and you look at chairmen and whatever, and not so much on the chairman side, but a CEO is under big pressure. CFO, the head of the chief operating officer, they're under monster pressure, especially as our market, particularly in South Africa, is shrinking. So we are going through a tough time. And so that's why in these tough times, these conversations of bringing the humanity skills in, or as people note, the soft skills, will help broach the tough engagements that one needs to have. If you need an employee or you need a leader to step up to the plate, understand why they're not. Let's make sure, are we having that tough, you don't know what's happening. Maybe there's gender-based violence at home. Maybe there's a real issue. They don't know how to manage their money.
Or they don't even know how to talk to you about it. They don't even open up yet in that way of communicating a problem in their life and their personal.
Depression.
Yeah. You can't even express it. Correct. Because you have this a self-imposter syndrome, whatever you're going through, that, will I look weak in front of telling somebody what I'm going through?
Correct.
And no leader wants to tell today, this is what's happening to me in my personal life, or this is what's happening to me, that I don't know actually a solution of how to get this business up and going again.
Yeah.
And that's where that openness and vulnerability has to come in. I don't think we're there yet. Leadership is not being taught that in schools and universities. I hope people learn that and understand that and grow from their pain. Otherwise, you just end up suffering more.
You find the people that have gone through a lot are the ones that can teach. And I think that goes back to, to when one feels the pain and has walked in somebody else's shoes, you can truly then teach. So I must say I'm a believer in, don't teach if you don't know. Teach if you know. No problem.
I agree with you 100% with that.
Thank you for that.
I agree with you 100%, because I think a lot of people are teaching without the level of experience or know-how at all.
Yes, and that worries me substantially. It really does.
But I had to realize that as well. Even though, when I became a CFO and I knew the functional things, but I didn't really know it at all. I wasn't competent. And, as you go to other organizations, leaders that were willing to listen to me actually didn't want me to know everything. They were willing to teach me, even though, yes, you have this degree and you
Yes.
know how to do certain things. And I experienced it because I'm not a chartered accountant, and I got a position in a CFO at a JSE listed company, and I was wondering why they're hiring me. And what do I have that you're
Yes.
actually looking for?
Sure.
And when I sat across from the CFO, and their portfolio is like 7 billion rand, and they're talking to you like, you're not here because you know everything or you know that. Here, we're willing to also grow you, willing to teach you, we're
That's
willing to.
remarkable, eh?
And I was,
That
I
is
was,
remarkable.
I think I manifested that
Yeah,
because I wanted to
agreed.
be in a space
Right.
where leaders are like that.
Right.
And I got to experience that.
Sure. That's not often, doesn't often happen.
Yes.
And wonderful that you were in that position.
Hmm.
And I suppose that you've been through that now. You're going to help others.
Yes.
That's, hence we communicate.
Because when you're working for
Yeah.
a private company and you've
Yeah.
got so many things that you think, I
Yeah.
need to get, how do I get incentivized for what I do? And
Yes.
people just give you a salary and maybe they
Yes.
say medical aid and the pay
Yeah.
parity that you brought through.
Yeah.
And then when you get to a different level of leadership,
Yeah.
is that you see, you're getting shares, and I didn't even ask for the shares,
Yes.
and you're getting like 25% of your annual salary, and that wasn't there. And then you realized, this is true executive leadership. It's that they have actually looked at it holistically, how to grow you as an
Yeah.
individual
Yeah.
and elevate you.
Yeah.
And they want smart people to be in those positions that are taken care of. And I actually went for the medical. Even when that was it. And I says, but do you even get that today? That you go for a medical to
Yeah.
check if you're healthy,
Yeah.
and you go through the psychological and framework tests,
Yeah.
and they actually check in: are you good enough at a mental, physical, and emotional level?
Yeah.
And we'll do the rest for you if you need to be here.
Well, I think that's awesome. I mean, I know a lot of the mining companies and certainly financial services go through it, and that's important. But it comes back to having the wisdom with compassion.
Yeah.
And it's not just a saying, and it's not just a mantra. It is about living it. There are going to be tough times. Like they were managing it. They made sure that you had all the admin, the checks and the balances, all the tick boxes. There has to be the business side. There has to be the almost the boring side. That's part of it. But if we don't bring that compassion and that awareness, that consciousness into it, we're literally walking around as being the robots ourselves. Yes. So it is about how do we differentiate ourselves moving into this new age that we are facing. And it's coming rapidly. So we're all feeling it. And to not have anxiety around it, but to know that one thing that you have is if you bring wisdom and compassion into the workplace, no robot can ever multiply you. And you will always find the workplace that is appropriate for you, that fits your style. And like you did, exactly like
you respect, you're absolutely right. When you respect yourself, you're not seeking respect or you're seeking approval or acknowledgement or validation.
Correct.
And when you're doing that, then you're on the wrong path.
Correct.
You don't know what it is to respect yourself.
Correct. And I love these words that we're using. I know we use them randomly, but they really are, they've got gravitas. If I have boundaries. I mean, Janine has boundaries, and I love myself. I don't always like everything about myself. Please don't, to try misinterpret that. There are things that I know I'm not perfect by any means, but I like who I am. I love who I am. Now, if somebody doesn't appreciate that, then I would normally chase after a relationship or chase after a job or chase after a client. You learn. I've learned that I'm learning. I don't do that anymore. If the energy doesn't shift between the two of us and we don't make it happen and we don't have the same vision, then it's not for me. I must have the comfort and the confidence within myself with the wisdom to say, it's okay, let it go. The next one that'll come. If that also doesn't work, that's okay. The third one that'll come will most probably be the right one.
For you, what is success over the years? You've been...
Oh, we're coming back to that.
Yes, absolutely. Because you got the experience, great career, great initiatives and impact in different organizations. But what is success? and authenticity as well. Well, we talk about it and it can be fluff to somebody, but we can be one person to somebody and another person to somebody else. And,
Yeah.
and I've seen this. I've
Yeah.
looked at people, being a coach is like one person is
Yeah.
like this with their family. And then when they go to the boardroom, they're like another person. And then
Yeah.
with their friends, they're a different person. And that's actually inauthenticity, is because you're not being who you are to everybody in an equanimous way.
I get you. Look, different environments will make different people react. I'll give you an example. I mean, you made me very comfortable when I met you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to be late. I don't like being late for people because I think it's disrespectful. And I was getting lost because the GPS wasn't on my side. And it's little things like that that's what you recognized straight away. And you worked with me on that. Can you see? So it is about each one of us knowing where our shortfalls are. That is one shortfall I have. And also from a safety and security point of view. If we were going, like you were saying before, in Newtown, I would have been a lot more anxious because it's in a Parkhurst area. I felt a little bit more comfortable. Not that it's
But
safe.
it's also been hijacked.
It's because I've been
hijacked.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I've also been hijacked.
Yes.
And I had
Yes.
to realize that, you're afraid to do this. And even when I was in an accident, it's like,
Yes.
the great thing is that my cousin said, you're going to drive the next day.
Yeah.
And it happened years ago, but I actually knocked somebody on the highway.
Sure.
And
Sorry.
it wasn't, it's
Oh.
like you're 20. I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
The same year my dad passed away.
Oh.
And it's like, and nobody spoke about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
30s,
Yeah.
I realized what I actually did. And it may be
True.
insignificant and you said it's an accident but I actually took a life, and then you'd realize, oh no, how did I deal with it, and how did I go through that day?
Correct.
Nobody knows about it
Yeah.
because it's like, no, it's taboo to talk about what you've actually
Yes.
done.
Yes.
Yes, it was an accident, and
Yes.
the cop, I actually remember that day, the cop said, no,
Really?
there's the bridge.
Yes.
The gentleman should have walked over the bridge. It is not your fault. Don't ever think it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
but the reality is you've done something that's so against who you are.
Yes.
But
Yes.
and people around you don't want to acknowledge it as well. And I think we hide away from that.
You're very right with that. It's a very poignant point because it took me a long time to talk about the hijackings. I mean, I was hijacked a long time ago. I've only been able to talk about it in the last 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And that's the healing.
Yes.
So and I can hear you've gone through that healing and that journey, and that's so important for each and every one of us. I don't bring it up in casual conversations. I use it as part of my work and part of my journey so that people understand that I can.
You're not the successful person that's
I've
got your
had
life in
the
all your
cuts
shit in
and
order.
bruises.
Because people think that they
No,
have
no,
this
no, no,
perception
no,
of
no,
you.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
Janine's
No.
getting interviewed
No, no,
and
no,
she's
no,
this
no.
person. And she's never had a bad thing happen to her in her life.
Don't be under any illusion. This has been a rocky
The
road.
reality of people,
Yeah.
they think that
Yeah.
on a social media face or the surface level,
No.
that you've never been through any adversity, you've never been through any challenges, which is, you actually know, I've been through things. It's just you choose
Yes.
when to speak about it,
Yeah.
when to talk about it. Yes,
Yeah.
I've been hijacked.
Yeah.
Yes, I've gone through all of the things I've
Yes.
gone through.
Yeah.
And I realized it's very different. And you brought time up.
Yeah.
Is that for me, when my father passed away when I was 20 years old, it's very different because my brother was 6 years old.
Sure.
My mom was 49 years old. And then when I'm in my 40s now, and I was like reflecting and says, my mom was young when it happened. And when you're older and your parents are dying, it's very different to when I experienced it. And you think that death is the same and time is the same. It's not the same for everybody. Your time is not the same. It's not a linear thing that you're thinking about, because your mind is actually past, future. It's going through all of these different momentums and different moments.
And you're never ready for it.
And you're never ready for it.
Yeah.
And you think your healing is going to happen immediately. And it doesn't happen immediately. You've got to learn to reflect. And the power of reflection is so important in realization.
And you see, in business, I love what you've said, because I when my mom passed away, that's when I resigned from F&B. And I needed my time out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember my leaders that worked with me, they were horrified. And they said, but Janine, just take a month off, take 2 months. I needed a year. And in that year, on the 11th month, at the 11 o'clock at night, I sat bolt upright in bed and I knew I had to open a reputation management company. Can you see, if I hadn't listened to that, I mean, my mom and I weren't close, but she had a tremendous, painful death of pancreatic cancer. And it helped me look at myself, how I'd been as a daughter. Had I been close enough? Have I supported the family? And I realized, no, I was caught up in corporate. I'd become the Janine Hills of F&B.
Okay.
And I had a problem with that.
Is that the reputation? Like you had to relook at what reputation truly is?
Was I Janine Hills, or was I Janine Hills connected to another powerful brand? And I think what I went through at the age of 39 is what people face when they retire. Because they are a CEO of a listed company and then all of a sudden they retire at 65 and, well, who am I? And I went through that at 39 and I'm comfortable with who I am. And I think that brings us back to the love. We see the violence surrounding us. We see our beautiful Johannesburg breaking into pieces.
Potholes.
Breaking. It's broken. And it's sad because we don't love ourselves, you see. When I love myself, and like you respect yourself, you love yourself, you're able to love another. And you're able to take care of the job that you have and respect that. I'm so grateful for the clients I have. I'm so grateful for the people that pick. I'm so grateful for you reaching out, and people will know that I don't have the time, but something that you did touched me, and I went, no, I'd like to meet this man. And it's about listening. If I love myself enough, I will love another. And often that's when divorces happen, or you separate from a company because the energy levels are just not meeting. And if I look at our city, we have people in positions of power, if I can use it. I don't understand that.
I know you didn't want to bring it up.
I know. I just think we can't. Sorry. I love my city so much. I really do. I love Joburg. I've been here 40 years and I love the pulse, the people.
Yes. I think we have so much potential that people are not fully understanding it. It's like you don't understand that and it's leadership that's the problem.
Exactly.
There's so much of potential in this country and the city, but nobody's fully seen it. And it's like you breaking walls and you're going through friction and frustration when there's people that actually want to do it, but they don't know how to. They don't have the right energy with the people around them.
Or want to. And you see, that's the want.
Yeah.
Like we're talking now, it's I have to care about my city and love my people to want to go and clean out a river and create fresh water. Sort out you have to, it has to be a passion within who you are and what you are to make it right. Not chasing the salary. Not chasing the title, not chasing the tick box.
And that's what we do. Because society teaches us that. That's that reality, is that there's nobody there that has an energy that's different, consciousness that's different, an awareness that's different to actually help you until you have these painful moments that makes you have this light bulb moment, say, you know what? Who am I? Where am I going? What's going to happen to me? Now, you brought it up now that you're 39, that you're 65. Is that, I consult as well, and the CEO I was talking to, and he's like 67, and then, he's thinking of transitioning and quieting down. And I said, if you want to go to the beach, right, and you've never been to the beach, I want you to imagine that now, that you're sitting on the beach, and whether that's going to actually help you. Because if you only worked your entire life and you've done 16 hours, 18 hours, going to the beach is not going to actually help you, because you don't know what it is like. You only know what work is like. You know what that pressure.
Correct.
Boiling water. You only know that. You don't know any reality beyond that. And I think people don't understand that, is that they want more things, but they haven't even imagined it in their mind to experience it firsthand. They just say, no, I want to be this. But they don't even know, okay, being a millionaire, it's not all that you're thinking it is.
Correct.
It's not going to give you liberation. It's not going to give you freedom. It's not. There's financial success,
Correct.
emotional success,
Correct.
spiritual success,
Love what you say.
career success. But people are just blinkers. They're thinking that this is
Correct.
what's going to change my entire life, but they don't even know
Correct.
anything. And I had to realize that especially
it.
in marriage, because
Yes.
I wanted to get married and I got married for the wrong reasons. And then it says it's actually growth. Getting married for growth
Yeah.
with another
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
And you're learning to love and understand another
Correct.
human being. But it's not that you're thinking that, oh, I'm going to get food on the table.
But
I'm
for
going to have a
some men it
partner.
is, sorry.
And you're gonna get
Yeah.
you're gonna get what society's understanding of marriage is.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get what real marriage is. And
Yeah.
when the ups and downs
Companionship.
does happen, which it will happen,
Correct.
what do you do and how do you
Correct.
define that? How do you revolve
Yeah.
around that?
You know, so coming back to what you spoke about success, it's a very open question, and it's me being comfortable with myself, being happy. I need space, a lot of solitude, because in the solitude I find myself. So every Thursday I have dedicated to, it's like my retreat day or my prayer day, depending, and then I take time to do my meditation, my mantras, being still. And from 9 o'clock in the morning, definitely till 11, or if I can try and push it to 1 every Thursday, that's where I find myself. The same thing on a Saturday. Yes, I go to gym early in the mornings, and then I might have to go do 1 or 2 errands, but Saturday is absolutely sacred for me. And so if we don't find these times in our diary and in our busy lifestyle, we feel like we're a hamster on a treadmill. And I don't want that feeling anymore. So that's success.
It has to be a realization that you experience, because you know what it is to be in that corporate environment and work the late hours and have the deadlines and have all of that there.
I still do that.
But you still made time to say, I need the
Yes.
mean time. I
Correct.
need a time in a solitude, and you realized I need solitude.
Yes.
It's that people don't even realize that solitude actually allows them to reach a spiritual level of understanding themselves, because you
Yes.
can only learn that through solitude. You can't learn it through anything else.
Correct.
And they think that, oh, when I get the job, or I
Yeah.
get the wife, or
Yeah.
get the husband, or I get
Yes.
the kids,
It's the acquisitions
the
of
acquisition
things.
and the
Yes.
accumulation of things, and you
Yes.
don't even
Get you.
think about solitude
Yeah.
because you're running away from solitude
Correct.
when it's your greatest weapon
Correct.
in your
In your
arsenal.
arsenal.
Yeah.
So I
Solitude
love
is
your
the
language.
greatest
I love
weapon
it
in
what
your
you're saying.
arsenal to
Yeah.
actually find yourself.
Correct.
It's not about finding everybody else. You thinking that you're
Correct.
finding everybody else to help you
Correct.
grow and mature,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Yeah. So that to me is what success is, when I can do those parts of building me and growing and nurturing me. But at the same time, on average, it's 14 hours a day, and I love it. But am I tired?
But you become passionate because you love it.
I love it.
You love that.
Am I tired at times? Absolutely. Do I go and watch a Netflix movie afterwards? Absolutely. Do I make a habit of that? No, I try go to bed early. Why? Because I need to be on top of my game the following morning. And my mornings start at 5:30, latest 6. And then I've got to do gym. It's important for me, my physical strength.
Yes.
Because if this vessel isn't strong enough, it can't carry if I get ill, or if the thinking laterally, strategically. And I learned that through COVID. COVID was a big learning curve for me personally, is to build that strength so that when these things happen and cross our paths, it can carry you through.
Did you get sick during COVID?
Sure, I almost died twice.
Oof.
I was down to 30% of my capacity in lungs. And it was
So you was in
that.
hospital?
Yeah. No, I didn't. They were keeping me out.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that time. It was the second strain that came through, and everybody was dying. I lost 8 very close friends / clients. And I mean, I'm same as everybody else. We all went through it.
Yeah.
And there was a hospital across the road from me. They did everything. The doctors phoned me. I had friends that were doctors, and they said, Janine, you stay at home. You go in there, you won't come out. So that was, I stayed at home. Didn't go in. So and it was about working with the mantras, working with the healing,
Yes.
working with my spiritual teacher, and we pulled through. But yes, it was not fun having COVID twice.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had it once, but I had to go to the hospital. My mom was in hospital, and I said, "No, how can you not go?" And everybody said, "Don't go." And I said, "But you know, you get so caught up as well with the emotion part that you know, what if something does happen? You know, can you go and see your mom?" But yeah, I was separated in the
Yeah.
house,
No,
and luckily recovered well.
but
So
you went through that, and you went through it with your family as well, and that strengthened you. But a lot of executives I find that I work with, and leaders, they don't take care of their health. The way they eat, I see it. Cups of coffee. I mean, the guy offered me, the gentleman offered me a cup of coffee on arrival. No, because why? Coffee doesn't go down well with me. Chamomile tea would have been
yes,
great. Do you
yeah,
see? So never drink a coffee in that before you're going to do an interview or anything. Not with milk either, because it creates a mucus in your throat. It's the worst possible thing that you could do. So a nice cup of tea, like a chamomile tea or something without a rooibos tea, that kind of thing. Great. Lemon juice and hot water. So it's little things like that to know. But also, when I work with executives in the crisis situations, is then people die for pizzas or hamburgers or whatever, comfort food. But it's so important for us to do protein, vegetables, and yes, you can have a spoiler, but not to drink alcohol excessively. So because it overrides the anxiety and actually makes one worse in a particular situation. It actually can make you go crazy at times as well. So it is about having your system clean, pure, drink a lot of water, drink rehydrates, make sure you're eating healthy so it sustains the physical, so that when your intellect has got to come to the forefront, and then of course our soft skills, our humanitarian skills, in the strong physical body, you are strong and you walk in there as a warrior and you can command these challenging times.
wow, you impactful. So, what would you like to impart to leaders today? Like, what three things that you can say that really you'd love them to understand? You'd love them to know that this is where their growth is, and how to overcome the challenges that they're facing in the boardroom and under their executive leadership. And what would you like to impart to them?
I think we've covered a lot of that, but I think just to rehash a couple of things, I think the first one is let's listen to each other. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being on your platform today. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Listening to me is a very important skill that we need to work at and master. Self-mastery. Listen more. Say less. The second one is love oneself. Realize that the more you love yourself, you will be a lot more compassionate with others. And I learned that as a young kid. My father didn't love himself, and he was unable to love those around him. And it's not his fault. It's where he was at. So I forgive him and let it go. And I think this is what happens is we then become fighters instead of learning to love and appreciate the sun when it rises, the moon in the evening, the fact that we have got water.
Yes.
When we've got water,
Yes.
we've got electricity. When we've got electricity, I think it's the gratitude as leaders and as people. Let's be filled with gratitude rather than the complaining, because we do tend to, as human beings, complain. It's easy to complain, but let us be more filled with gratitude than that. The last one is really being you. Be the authentic self. Be the authentic self. Be honest with integrity and lead by example.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Janine. I loved having you on the show. I loved the conversation. Yeah, thank you so much.
I loved being with you. Thank you for the invite.
Pleasure.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.